Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Historian. Find a comfortable place. Let the sounds of the evening settle around you, and allow your mind to drift back in time with me. Tonight, we are not visiting a battlefield or a council of kings. Instead, we are journeying into a world of breathtaking color, of iridescent light, and of profound, sacred joy. We are traveling to the heart of a Maya city, to witness a princess prepare for a great ceremony. We often picture the ancient world in shades of stone and dust, but the reality was a kaleidoscope of vibrant life. Did you know that the ceremonial attire of a Maya royal was not just clothing, but a living, breathing embodiment of the cosmos itself, a symphony of materials designed to express the purest form of joy? It was a joy born from a deep connection to the gods, to nature, and to the very essence of life. So close your eyes if you wish, and let us explore what made a Maya princess's ceremonial attire so wonderfully, so spiritually, joyful. And if you find our journey tonight restful, perhaps consider subscribing to join us on future travels into the quiet corners of the past, the foundation of all ceremonial wear. The canvas upon which this cosmic story was painted was the huipil. This garment, a simple tunic-like dress, was anything but simple in its meaning or creation. Imagine the soft, hand-spun cotton, grown in fields blessed by the maize god. The threads themselves held a sacred potential. The weaving was done on a backstrap loom, a remarkable device that connected the weaver directly to her work. The loom became an extension of her own body, the tension of the threads held by the strength of her own hips. Her hands moving with a rhythm passed down through countless generations. This was not mere labor. It was a form of prayer, a meditative act. Each pass of the shuttle was a whisper. Each pattern that emerged was a story. The brocade designs that adorned a princess's huipil were a complex language of symbols. Zigzags could represent the feathered serpent god, Kuku Khan, or the mountains that touched the sky. Diamonds might symbolize the universe, with its four cardinal directions. Stylized figures of animals, plants, and ancestors were woven directly into the fabric, creating a garment that was both a personal history and a communal map of the sacred world. For a princess to wear her huipil was to wrap herself in her lineage, in the protection of the gods, and in the collective identity of her people. The joy began here, in the profound sense of belonging and divine order that the garment represented. It was a joy of identity, of knowing one's place in the grand, beautiful tapestry of existence, a feeling of being perfectly and sacredly home. The huipil was the foundation, but it was the color that gave it a voice, a soul. The Maya world was not muted. It was saturated with hues that were considered gifts from the gods. Color was a language, a direct line to the supernatural. And to feel joy was to see it, to wear it, the most coveted color, a red so deep and vibrant it seemed to pulse with life, came from a tiny insect, the cochineal. Imagine farmers patiently tending to rows of nopal cacti, carefully harvesting the small, white, cottony nests of these scale insects. When crushed, they released a crimson dye of unparalleled intensity. This was the color of blood, the sacred fluid of life and sacrifice. It was the color of the rising sun, of vitality and power. To be cloaked in cochineal red was to be imbued with the very essence of life's fire, a joyful declaration of strength and divine favor. It was a color that demanded attention, a color that sang of power and presence. The process itself, from nurturing a humble insect to creating a dye fit for royalty, was a testament to the Maya understanding that the sacred could be found in the smallest of creatures. This transformation was a source of wonder and joy, a miracle of nature harnessed for divine expression. Next to the fiery reds was the deep, contemplative blue of indigo. This color was born from the leaves of the indigo plant through a complex process of fermentation. The fresh green leaves were soaked, and as they decomposed, they underwent a magical transformation. yielding a dye that could stain textiles with the color of the twilight sky and the deep waters of the cenotes, the sacred wells that were portals to the underworld. Indigo blue was the color of the rain god, Chak. It represented water, life, and the heavens. It was a color of serenity, of cosmic depth. When a princess wore indigo, she was wearing the sky. She was carrying the promise of life-giving rain. The contrast between the fiery cochineal red and the tranquil indigo blue created a dynamic visual harmony, a representation of the fundamental dualities of the cosmos, day and night, fire and water, life and the underworld. The joy here was one of balance, of understanding that all parts of the universe, even the seemingly opposing forces, work together in a grand, beautiful dance. To wear these colors was to participate in that cosmic harmony. To feel the universe in balance upon your own skin, while red and blue spoke of life and the heavens. There was another color so rare, so difficult to obtain, that it was reserved for the highest echelons of society. This was the color purple, a hue extracted from the sea. Imagine the princess standing on the rocky shores of the Caribbean, watching as skilled artisans carefully coaxed a precious liquid from a small marine snail, the purpura pansa. Unlike other dyes, this one did not require the creature to be killed. The snail was gently prodded until it released a milky fluid that, when exposed to sunlight and air, miraculously transformed. Shifting from yellow to green to a final, breathtaking shade of royal purple, the process was painstaking. Hundreds, if not thousands, of snails would be needed to dye a single garment. This color was not just beautiful. It was the embodiment of immense effort, of a respectful contract with the sea. It was the color of twilight, the liminal space between day and night. It symbolized the highest spiritual authority and divine connection. The joy of wearing this purple was the joy of the extraordinary. It was a statement of ultimate prestige, a connection to the mysterious power of the ocean and the transformative power of light. It was a color that whispered of the sacred and the secret, a joy that came from touching the edge of the divine world, a world that few were ever permitted to see, let alone wear, but the true soul of a Maya princess's attire. The element that lifted it from mere clothing to a living spectacle was the feathers. The Maya viewed birds as messengers of the gods, creatures who could travel between the earthly realm and the heavens. Their feathers were not just decoration. They were particles of the divine, fragments of the sky itself. The most prized of all were the tail feathers of the resplendent quetzal. Imagine this bird, living high in the cloud forests. A flash of emerald and sapphire. Its long, iridescent tail feathers, sometimes stretching over 3 feet long, were more valuable than gold. They were the symbol of the feathered serpent god, of freedom, royalty, and the breath of life. The shimmering green was the color of new maize shoots, of precious jade, of the eternal cycle of growth and renewal. The joy of quetzal feathers was the joy of life in its most vibrant form. The feathers were so sacred that the birds were often captured, their precious plumes carefully plucked, and then they were released back into the forest to grow them anew. This act of reverence ensured that the source of this divine beauty was never extinguished. The feathers were meticulously arranged into towering headdresses, sewn onto capes that cascaded down the princess's back, and woven into textiles, creating a shimmering living surface. When the princess moved, the feathers would catch the light, shifting from emerald green to brilliant gold to deep blue. It was as if she was cloaked in pure, celestial light. The rustle of the feathers was said to sound like the wind in the trees or the gentle fall of rain, a constant, soothing reminder of the natural world's sacred power. This was not a static beauty. It was a dynamic, kinetic joy. The feathers brought the attire to life, making the princess a conduit for the divine energy of the sky, a breathtaking vision of life's sacred dance, while the quetzal represented the verdant, life-giving earth and sky. Another bird brought the fire of the sun. The scarlet macaw, with its feathers of brilliant red, yellow, and blue, was a living embodiment of solar fire and celestial power. Its feathers were often used alongside the quetzal, creating a stunning contrast that represented the fundamental forces of the cosmos. The red was the rising and setting sun, the yellow, the sun at its zenith, the blue, the sky that held it. An artisan's workshop would have been a place of intense focus and reverence. Imagine skilled feather workers, their fingers moving with delicate precision, sorting plumes by size, color, and quality. They would tie them to a fine cotton mesh or weave them into a fabric backing, creating intricate mosaics of color and texture. A single cape or headdress could take months to create, composed of thousands of individual feathers. The joy was in the creation, in the meticulous act of assembling these divine fragments into a coherent and beautiful whole. For the princess, wearing these creations was a transformative experience. A cape of macaw feathers would have felt like wearing a piece of the sun, a source of warmth and divine energy. As she walked or danced, the brilliant colors would flash and swirl, a fiery spectacle that would captivate all who saw her. This was the joy of power, not a tyrannical power, but the life-affirming power of the sun god, Kinish Ahau. It was a declaration of her role as a vital link between her people and the celestial bodies that governed their lives. It was a joy that was both personal and communal, a spectacular reminder of the god's brilliant presence in the world. Beneath the feathers and the vibrant dyes lay a substance that was the ultimate expression of value, life, and eternity. Jade, to the Maya jade, or yaks, was more than a stone. Its cool green color embodied the most sacred concepts of their world. It was the color of water, the source of all life. It was the color of young maize, the crop that sustained their civilization. It was believed to be the physical manifestation of the breath of the soul. When a ruler died, a jade bead was often placed in their mouth to capture their final breath and ensure their eternal life. The joy of jade was the joy of eternity. Imagine a princess adorned with this sacred stone, a heavy pectoral carved with the face of an ancestor or a god resting on her chest. Its weight would be a constant, grounding reminder of her connection to the divine and her lineage. Large, flared ear spools of translucent, apple-green jade would frame her face, and as she moved, the light would pass through them, making them glow with an inner life. Necklaces of countless polished jade beads would cascade down her front, their gentle, rhythmic clinking providing a subtle musical accompaniment to her every step. This sound was part of the experience. The soft music of eternity. The stone was cool to the touch, a connection to the coolness of the cenotes and the life-giving rain. Wearing it was a sensory experience, a feeling of being protected, of being part of something timeless and enduring. It was a quiet, deep joy, a sense of peace and permanence in a world of change. The princess's adornments were a collection of the most precious materials from her world, a testament to the reach and power of her kingdom. From the deep ocean came another treasure, the spondylus shell. This thorny oyster, with its vibrant orange, red, and pink hues, was considered the food of the gods. It was associated with water, fertility, and the sacred rituals of bloodletting. Divers would risk their lives to harvest these shells from the ocean floor, making them incredibly valuable. They were often called red gold. The shells were carved into intricate beads, pendants, and inlays. A princess might wear a girdle made of spondylus shell pieces, which would clatter and shine as she walked, a bright, joyful sound. The vibrant orange-red color complemented the jade and feathers perfectly, adding another layer to the visual symphony. Alongside shell, carved bone was also used, the bones of revered animals like the jaguar, or even the bones of honored ancestors, were meticulously carved with scenes from mythology or with complex glyphs. These were not morbid objects. They were powerful links to the spirit world and to the past. To wear a piece of carved bone was to carry the strength of the jaguar or the wisdom of an ancestor with you. The joy of these materials was the joy of connection. The spondylus connected the wearer to the life-giving sea and the watery underworld, while the carved bones connected her to the power of the animal kingdom and the eternal presence of her lineage. Her attire made her a nexus point, a place where the sea, the sky, the earth, and the ancestors all came together in a single, beautiful expression of cosmic unity. All of these elements, the feathers, the jade, the shells, the vibrant textiles, culminated in the most spectacular piece of the entire ensemble, the headdress. This was not merely a hat or a crown. It was a world on her head, a portable cosmological map that declared her sacred status. The construction began with a sturdy but lightweight frame of wood or wicker, designed to support immense weight and complexity. To this frame, a mask might be attached at the front, perhaps made of carved wood overlaid with a mosaic of jade and shell depicting the face of a patron deity or a divine ancestor. This mask transformed the princess. She was no longer just a mortal woman. She was a vessel for the god. From this base, the headdress would rise upwards, a towering structure of artistry and meaning. The long, shimmering tail feathers of the quetzal would be attached to the back, cascading down her spine like a waterfall of iridescent green. They would flow and sway with her every movement, creating a mesmerizing aura of living light. The entire structure was a representation of the world tree, the sacred saber tree that the Maya believed connected the three realms of the cosmos. The base of the headdress was the earthly realm. The towering feathered structure was the trunk and branches reaching into the heavens, and the princess herself was the conduit between them. The sheer scale and complexity of the headdress was a source of communal pride and joy. It was a testament to the skill of their artisans, the wealth of their kingdom, and the power of their gods. To see the princess where it was to see their entire worldview brought to life in the most spectacular way imaginable. Now, let us imagine the ceremony itself. The sun is setting over the city, casting the great stone pyramids in hues of orange and gold. The central plaza is filled with people, their faces turned towards the temple summit, a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. The air is thick with the fragrant smoke of copal incense, a sacred scent meant to please the gods. The rhythmic beat of drums and the high-pitched notes of flutes echo off the stone buildings. Then, she appears. The princess emerges at the top of the temple stairs, and a collective gasp ripples through the crowd. She is a vision, a being seemingly not of this world. The last rays of the sun ignite her attire. Her headdress seems to blaze with an inner fire. The macaw feathers a riot of solar reds and yellows. The cascade of quetzal feathers down her back shimmers like a river of liquid jade. Her huipil, in its deep reds and blues, grounds her, a map of her people's sacred stories. As she begins her slow, deliberate descent down the steep temple steps, the joy becomes kinetic. The sound is as important as the sight. The gentle rustle of hundreds of quetzal feathers, the soft, musical clinking of her jade necklaces and bracelets, the brighter clatter of the spondylus shells on her girdle. It is a symphony of sacred materials, a soundscape of joy and reverence. She's not just wearing her attire. She is performing it. Every movement is calculated. Every gesture has meaning. She is the center of the universe, a living, breathing axis mundi. The joy felt by the people watching below is immense. In her, they see the beauty of their gods, the strength of their kingdom, and the promise of cosmic order. Her magnificent attire is a reassurance that the sun will rise again, the rains will come, and the maize will grow. Her joy is their joy. She reaches the plaza floor and begins a slow, ritual dance. The music swells, and her attire comes fully alive. The long quetzal feathers swirl around her, creating a mesmerizing halo of green. The colors of her huipil and the flash of her jade and shell adornments become a blur of sacred energy. She is no longer just a princess. She is a prayer in motion, a physical manifestation of the community's devotion and celebration. The feathers are not just feathers. They are the breath of the sky god made visible. The jade is not just stone. It is the eternal life force of the earth made tangible. The colors are not just dyes. They are the very emotions of the gods painted onto fabric. This is the ultimate expression of Maya ceremonial joy. It is a joy that is active, participatory, and shared. It is the thrill of seeing the sacred world manifest before your very eyes, in a dazzling spectacle of color, sound, and movement. The princess, at the center of it all, embodies this joy. Her face serene, her movements graceful. She is the beautiful, living heart of her people's world. So, what made a Maya princess's ceremonial attire so joyful? It was a joy woven from 1,000 threads of meaning. It was the joy of identity, of wearing the stories of your ancestors on your skin. It was the joy of color, of being cloaked in the vibrant gifts of the gods, the life fire of cochineal red and the cosmic depth of indigo blue. It was the joy of movement, of seeing divine, iridescent feathers dance in the sun, a living connection to the heavens. It was the joy of permanence, of feeling the cool, eternal weight of jade, the stone of the soul. It was the joy of connection. To the sea, to the earth, to the ancestors, and to the gods. This was not a simple or frivolous happiness. It was a deep, profound, and sacred joy, the joy of feeling perfectly aligned with the cosmos, of understanding your place in the grand, beautiful, and eternal dance of existence. It was the joy of being fully, vibrantly, and sacredly alive. And now, as our journey comes to a close, and the sounds of the ancient plaza fade away, I hope you carry a little of that color and that joy with you into your dreams. Thank you for joining me at the Sleepy Historian. Sleep well.